having me on this Power BI bootcamp. So, myself Dhruvin Shah, and today I'm going to talk about Power BI data flows. So, let me just get started with the introduction about me. So, basically, I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and I'm working as a Power Platform specialist in one of the company at India. I'm active blogger and YouTuber having published different content related Power BI, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, and entire Power Platform stuff. So if you just wanted to follow me on all my social media handles and if you wanted to know more about me, you can simply use this URL, which is very simple. That is linktree/dhruvin.shah. And once you click on that, you will be redirected to this particular page. And from there, you can follow me on my YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and much more thing. And don't worry, I'm going to provide this link at the end of the session as well, so you are good to follow me. So without wasting much time, let me get started and talk about what we are going to cover throughout this entire session over here. So basically, I can say this is mostly the introduction part of session. I will try my best to cover the entire part of data flows because most of the time what happen here is we are doing our Power BI development with the traditional way that we are connecting our data sources and we are just publishing our data Power BI report to Power BI service. But data flow is something which is a very interesting concept, and I saw that many of the developers are not using this concept. So my end goal is to aware about the data flow, what data flow is, and what are the advantages that we are getting with the help of data flow that we are going to cover. So if you are beginner or let's say intermediate level, so this session will definitely beneficial for you because you will get to know so many cool stuff related Power BI data flow. So basically, throughout this entire session, I'm going to cover six main points. So first, I will get started with what is Power BI data flow and how it is useful to us. And we will talk about real life examples where we can use the data flows, right? Now, after that, we will get started and configuring our first Power BI data flow with the help of SQL Server as a data source. Then we will be talking about how you can use the concept of link table or computed table in data flow, which is somewhat we will cover later on this session. So you will get a better idea. Then we will talk about the pro versus premium feature of data flow that you can leverage. And at last, we will connect our data flow with our Power BI desktop to prepare our report. So this is the overall session agenda, which will start from the scratch and ended with the Power BI report development. And over here into this particular session, we are not going to cover more advanced topics like AI. AI with data flow or some incremental refresh concept and all, but definitely let's focus more on the basics part and then we are good to go with. So first of all, let me explain you what is data flow. So the person who is new into this particular term data flow, it's identical to know that what do we exactly mean by the data flow. So basically it's a collection of tables that are created and managed in the workspace into Power BI service. Now, what do we mean by this thing? Let me simplify that for you. So let's say at this moment, whenever you are creating any report to your Power BI desktop, basically you are connecting different data sources, like you are connecting Excel, SQL servers, your Dataverse table, or anything like that. And once you are importing that data, you are publishing that to Power BI service. So ultimately, the data is something which is being stored into your Power BI as a data source, right? And now when you publish that, it will go to the service. Now just consider an example that the similar structure you are going to use for 3 to 4 report. So at that time you are connecting those data sources again and you are publishing the report again to the service. Now the question arises in your mind that can we reuse those data sources? Can we let's say I loaded one table and I wanted to use it to multiple reports. Can I use that? Is it necessary to load that every time to Power BI report? So data flow is something which is a centralized location where all your data is to be stored into Power BI service workspace. In a simple word, I can say that it's a advanced version of Power Query. We can say it as a Power Query online. So all the ETL operations that you are doing with the Power BI desktop that can be done with Power BI service and with the help of data flows. Right. So still there are some confusions over here. So let me just give the clarity on that part, that how it is different from your traditional Power BI report development. So let's say for an example, let me just move to my Power BI workspace, and let's say here I published one of the report. Now you can see that whenever you are publishing any report to service, behind the scene there is one data set. So for each report, we have one data set, and that is to be published to your service. Now consider a scenario. I told you like a sales report that you are developing. So in sales, most of the time what happen here is consider a date table. So date table is something which you have retrieved and perform lots of operation into your Power Query. So whenever you are opening your Power BI desktop and open up Power Query at the time, let's say you have retrieved some month, year, a month start date, month end date, everything, entire calculation you have done for your date table. Now the thing is that you have developed one report. Now after few months, new requirement comes up, and what you traditionally do is you are just copying your date table from just copy your Power Query code and paste it to your new report, and just build your report on top of that. So that is something that you are doing, simply copy and pasting thing. This is one example. Now consider an example of any relational databases. Like let's say for an example, here I have one data source called credit, which has so many tables at this moment. Now consider, let's say I have a one category table and which shows this many of categories at this moment. Now I just perform some ETL operation for one report for this particular table, and a few times later I wanted to use the same table again. Then what I will do traditionally is I will load this table again, and I will copy and paste my ETL stuff from other report and go with that. But is there any way that, let's say I completed my ETL process and I stored that to one central location, and now whenever, let's say in future, if I'm preparing any report, I can directly grab that data from the ETL that I already performed. So that is something which we can achieve with the help of data flows, right? So data flow is nothing but it's a Power Query online. Entire ETL thing you can perform over there. Now let me move towards my presentation deck again, and let me talk about the overall architecture that we have for our data flow. So basically, data flow is something which is grabbing the data from the different data sources and store that data to one cloud location, which is Azure Data Lake Storage. So internally it store all the records over there, and from that Azure Data Lake Storage or data flow, we can consume that records to our data sets or reports or dashboards anywhere, right? So now there is one more question arise in your mind, that this data is stored somewhere in the Azure data lake storage. So do we need additional Azure subscription? So the answer is no. Even with pro license as well, you can develop the data flow. Definitely some features are not available, but at least to get started with, you can do that. Also with premium per user workspace as well, you can develop your Power BI data flows, right? And you do not need any Azure subscription. Like let's say if you're a small organization, then maybe there is a possibility that you are not purchasing separate Azure licenses. Then this is something, this particular storage that I'm talking about, where data flow is storing the information, is included into that capacity which is provided with pro or premium license. Like pro, let's say 10 gigs provided, so you can store the data up to 10 gigs over there. And the use cases that I'm talking about, I already maybe discussed that whenever in your project you need some centralized data structure, at that time you can go with that. And the main purpose of data flow is something which you can reuse your tables, right? So now without having more on the theoretical part, let me get started and show you how you can get started with your data flow creation process. So let's get started. So first of all, let me show you the traditional database that I do have, and we are going to use throughout this entire session. So basically, I just use one SQL Server on-premise database, and I just imported one credit database over here, and I do have different tables over here, right? And now what I want to do is I want to grab the data from this particular database and prepare my data flow on top of that, right? So for that, what I need to do here is, let's see. So let me just open up my Power BI service. So I'm just opening my service account. Now, one more important thing to get started with Power BI data flow, I would recommend two things to you. First thing is that you can go with the pro license for your practice purpose, but if you want to enhance and explore the some advanced features of your data flow, then you need to activate the premium per user license for your account. Right now, to get started, I will do everything from scratch. I will create the workspace from scratch and make that workspace as premium per user workspace, and then we will load the data flow over there. So I can explain you almost every feature of the data flow that I wanted to present you. So first of all, let me just create one new workspace. So let me just provide my workspace name as Power BI Bootcamp over here. And let me just click on save. So that will just create one normal pro workspace for you. You can see at this moment, I do not have diamond symbol over here. So I'm just going over here into settings section and go to the premium, and I will just create one premium per user workspace. And for this demo purpose, I will just use the default data storage format and just click save. So what happened here is, you can see the workspace is assigned with premium per user content, right? So we are good here. Now let's create our data flow. So what I basically wanted to do here is, let me show you with the database first. So basically I do have category table, then charge table, member table, then I do have some transactional tables over here. Right. So what I exactly wanted to achieve here is, I wanted to make one data flow for my category table. So what happened here is, this is one reusable table that I wanted to grab into multiple data sources. So we will create first one data flow for our category table, and then we will create one another data flow where we are grabbing some another tables. And with respect to that, what I will do is, I will use the link table, means one data flow I already created. From that one data flow, I will consume that table and use that as a reference into my another data flow. So that is something which is very interesting, and I will show you throughout this demo. So let's get started. One more important thing, that for this procedure over here, I already installed one data gateway on my on-premise system. So make sure that you go with the on-premise data gateway installation part. So for just for time saving and covering more features over here, I'm not showing the process of installing the data gateway that is available on my YouTube channel as well, or you can simply find it on internet and you will get to know about the steps, right? So let's get started and create our data flow. So I'm just going to my service here, and just from workspace, as I told you at the very beginning, data flow is something which stores the information to your workspace. So you just simply need to click on new and click on data flow. So let's click on that. So that will open one screen for you for creating the data flow. So this is the home screen for creating the data flow, where you have four different options. Now, what are those four options? Let's discuss that. The very first option is define new tables, meaning if you want to create the new data flow, you can simply use this option and you can add all the tables from your appropriate data source. This is very simple that we will cover into this demo. Second thing is that link tables from other data flows. Now, this is something which is the concept of reusability. Like I told you that one category table is something which I want to reuse into multiple reports. So what I will do is, I will use that particular table, whatever the data flow that we will create for that particular category table, we will use that as a reference into this particular second data flow creation process. Third thing is import model. So let's say you build your data flow. Now you just wanted to make some maintenance process on top of that, like wanted to move your data flow from one workspace to another workspace. So you are just importing and exporting the JSON format of your data flow. That is something you can do with the import model. And last thing is something which is attach a common data model folder. So which is something which is basically for that you need the Azure data log storage account, and you can connect that data source over here with your data flow. So this is something which we are not going to cover in this demo because this is specifically require the proper Azure subscription over there. But definitely for better understanding, we will cover first three concepts in a very clearer manner. So let's get started. So first of all, you simply need to click on add new tables. So that will open a screen like this. So let's see. And over here, this is the same structure like your get data concept. So in get data as well, you can connect multiple data sources. Over here as well, you can do the same. So let me just go with the database section and connect the SQL Server as my data source. So I'm just doing it. Now over here you just need to provide your server information and database information. So let me just copy the server name from here. So my server name is this one. So let me just grab it over here, and database name is credit. So I'm just type the database name as credit, and I already installed one data gateway for this particular machine. So it is showing me the selecting the data gateway over here. So I'm selecting the data gateway and I'm choosing basic authentication like SQL Server authentication I wanted to achieve here. So I'm just choose my authentication mechanism as basic authentication, and just pass my username and password and just click on next. So what happened here is, as a next step, let's see, it will show you all the table from your database. So let it to be go to the next step. So here, same like Power BI desktop, you are able to choose the appropriate table. So let me just choose the category table at this moment only, right? So let's click on that and it will show the preview on this particular right hand side option. So let it to be loaded and we are good here. And let's just click on transform data. So I told you at very beginning that it will show you Power Query online. Exact Power Query window that you are able to see in the desktop. In desktop, some of the features are more. Over here, some of the features are less, but mostly everything I can say 80% things are available over here. So do not worry about that. Now, the main goal of data flow, that ETL that you are performing here, you wanted to store to the central location, right? So let me just perform some ETL thing. I'm not performing a more complex things over here. I'm just removing this column from here. So let me just remove this column from here, and let me just do one thing. Let me just rename this column, and over here on the right hand side you are able to see the different query steps, right? And all the query step has its own icon. Whatever the things that you perform, it is captured over here. And same way in advanced editor you are able to see your M query code over here, right? So let's say let's just consider this category table has some more information in real life, like it has the description like title information, description information, then the detailed information about each category for which thing it is used over there. So everything is, well, let's assume that it is there and you have performed lots of ETL over here, right? And now once your ETL is completed, you are just clicking on save and close. So what it will do is it is validating your query and store that information to your data flow. So let it to be completed, and here we are, it is redirecting me to the next screen to save my data flow. So let's just provide the name of your data flow. So I'm just providing my data flow name as category and just clicking on save. So that data flow is stored into this particular workspace. So let it to be completed, and here we are. Now it is showing you the success message that your data flow has been saved and you can refresh your data. So you can see the data flow is just being appeared here, and this is the table that we have added into our data flow and which has two columns at this moment. And if you wanted to perform some another operations, like if you wanted to edit your table or wanted to make prepare some ML model on top of that, you can do it from here. Now, let me just go back to my workspace again, and over here as well, you can see that your data flow is just being created. Now, once your data flow is created, what would be the next step? The next step is to refresh the database. So you simply need to click on this refresh now icon, and that is something which will refresh your records. So this is the very important step. Until and unless you are not pressing your refresh icon, what happen here is your data will not stored to your data flow, right? So what happen here is when you create the new data flow and you use the reference as a existing data flow, then you will not get those records. So refresh is something which is very important thing. Second most important advantage I want to talk about here is its refreshing capability of data flow. Now, with traditional development, what happen here is, like, let's say you have developed your Power BI report and you publish that and you configure the schedule refresh. Then what happen here is it schedule all records from your report. It doesn't provide you an option to refresh the data only from specific table. That is something you can overcome with the help of data flow. Now for category table, I created one data flow and I can configure its schedule refresh in a different manner. So you just simply need to go to the setting option, and over here there is an option schedule refresh based on your, let's say, licensing. If you have pro license 8 times in a day, or in premium license you can go with 48 times in a day, and you can simply apply the refresh frequency from here. So I just wanted to have the daily refresh over here. That's all. I'm not configuring it at this moment, but this is how you can configure the refresh for every data flow separately. So what happen here is only category table will refresh daily at this UTC time, right? Because it doesn't require more refresh, right? And doesn't that will also reduce your refresh time for overall report. Now let me go with the second concept of the data flow, which is link table. So I told you that this is some master table which I have loaded over here with this particular option. Now let me click one more data flow here and let's load some other tables. So here I have some another tables like member information, provider information, and charge amount. So what I want to do here is I want to load those records to my data flow. So for that, what I will do is I will just use a concept link table from other data flow. So what it will do is it will also allow me to add the tables from already created data flow. So let's say I'm just clicking here, and first of all we need to choose our gateway connection, and just we need to sign in with your account. So I already signed in with my account, so I'm just pressing next. So what it will do is, first of all, it will show me all the data flow that are available into your workspaces. Like let's say I have access of 5 workspaces and I build 5 to 6 data flow, so it will show me all the workspace with its data flow. So let's say our workspace is Power BI Bootcamp that we just created. Let's expand that. So the first name is the workspace name. Now what we need to do is we have created one data flow called category, right? Just few minutes ago we created. Now I want to use this table, the category table, as a reference table in my new data flow. I can use that. I will show you how. So let it to be expanded. And let me just click on this category table. And what it will do is it will show you the preview of the records that we have loaded into that particular table. So let it to be loaded as a preview over here, and it is showing us the preview. And let me just click on transform data. So what happened here is it is not actually loading this table here. It is just referencing the table over here, right? So this is called as link table. When you want to grab the table from your other data flow, then you can go with particular link table approach. Right now here also it is clearly mentioned that link table can't be modified. Any changes made to the query will not be saved. So of course, let's say you want to perform more ETL on your category table, then you can't perform over here. But there is an alternative. If you wanted to perform, you can right click on that. You can click on reference. You can just take a reference of that particular data flow. And over here, now there is a possibility that you can perform some ETL on top of that, right? So this is something that is just for a reference. So this concept is something which is called as computed table. Right? So when you already reference one table from other data flow and you wanted to perform some another ETL on top of that, then you can choose with that particular concept. So I do not need this one. So I'm just removing for this particular demo purpose. And now let me just load some more tables over here. So I'm clicking on get data over here and just clicking on SQL Server as data source. Let me just paste my server name and database name is credit, and I want to go with the basic authentication and just click on next. So let it to be done, and here we are. Now let me just load some more tables. Like I want to load like provider, and let's say I want to load some another tables like charge amount and member information. Member 2, that is something which I want to load here. And charge table. So actually this tables has some more records. So this will take some time to load. So let it to be wait. So I'm just clicking on create, and let's say it has started to load the records. And over here at the bottom, it is showing you that how much time it is taking and how much columns and row does it have. Right? So, and over here as well, it is showing you the different symbols. Like each symbol has different meanings. Microsoft provided specific documentation for all of the symbols that I will share the later in the chat window. So you can go with that. Now, we develop this data flow. Now let's perform some ETL over here as well. So let's say I just wanted to remove this few columns from here. So I'm just removing these columns. And now this is the date table. From here, I just wanted to retrieve the month. So I will just select this particular table and right click on that and add column from example. And let me just select this particular column only, which is your date column. And I will provide the example. Like I only need month from here. So I'm just pressing 9 month from charge table. So what it will do is it will just try to grab the pattern. So I'm typing 7, and you can see here it is showing me month from every date, and we are good to go. So this is another great capability of Power Query which we already have in the desktop, and same thing we do have into service as well. So we are good with the ETL process with this one. Now let's come to this particular table and perform the similar thing over here. So from here I only need member name, first name and last name. Rest of the thing I do not need. So I'm just remove other columns. And at last over here with provider table, let's make some cleaning process. So I need provider number, provider name, issue date and expiration date. That's the only thing. So remove other columns, right? And we are good to go. So let's click on save and close and let's see. So it is validating your queries at this moment. So let it to be loaded, and once it is loaded, we just simply need to provide the name of our data flow. So this data flow is something which we have created with the combination of link table as well as the regular table, right? Earlier data flow we created only for master table and which has a daily one time refresh frequency. Now for this one, definitely we will create and configure the more refresh frequency. So what happen here is these three tables will refresh multiple times in a day, but your category table will refresh only once in a day. So that will also reduce the amount of refresh time from your report. So here into this particular tables, I do have many records. So this will take some time. Let's wait for more 2 to 3 minutes and let it to be completed. So basically it is just validating the schema, and we have four schema added here. So one of four is being processed at this moment. So let it to be completed. So let's say how long it will take, and meantime for this particular session, so far if you have any question, you feel free to add the question. So until this data is loaded here, I will go with the question part from the chat window. So is there a timeout for refresh time? Okay, so yes, to answer your question, like whenever we are loading the data for this particular data flow, actually what happen here is there is an option to set that timeout time over there. So let's say if you have SQL Server database, you can choose appropriate time over there, like at which time you just wanted to, disconnect your table. So that is something that can be done for this timeout refresh time. One more important thing I want to tell you here, like if you are using the pro account for creating the data flow over here, so do not use a too large data set which is taking more than 3 hours to refresh. Otherwise, in refresh time, it is throwing you an error that, this data source is something which is taking more time to load. So divide it into multiple parts. So this is one thing that we need to keep in our mind. Now, one more thing that is, so let it to be loaded and we are good here. So now it will ask us to provide the name of our data flow. So let it to be done here. All right, and here we are. So let me just provide this name as credit H2 because this is something which covers the record for H2 fiscal. So let's here. All right, and here we are. So our data flow has been created. Now, as I told you, the very next step is something which you need to refresh your data flow. So I'm just start refresh now, and it will start refreshing these records from here. And what we need to do here is now as a next part, we simply need to go here and just go to the setting of the data flow and need to configure the schedule refresh in into that particular manner. So let's say I wanted to add some specific time interval over here, like let's say 5 p.m. UTC time. I just wanted to set. I can also set some more timings as well and just click on apply. Now let me just go to my workspace again, and it is still refreshing, but let me show you one more interesting thing to you over here. So when I open up this data flow, you can see this is the reference table that we have taken from our other data flow. So it is clearly said that link table can be viewed and edited into source data flow. So if you need any modification, you simply need to go there and need to make that modification, right? And that refresh is also something which is handled independently. Like if I'm configuring the refresh for this particular table, so it will refresh only these three tables. This is something which will be reflected only when the source data flow is getting updated. So this is one more important thing. Second advantage I'm talking about this data flow is that like you can reuse the table into multiple data flow. So what is happening here is like in future some client requirements are getting changed and you wanted to make some correction into your Power Query. Then you need to make only into source and it is reflected everywhere into all reports. So that will save you lots of time and your it is truly reusable, right? So we are good here. Now let me go to the workspace and let's see refresh has been completed. Now let me talk about one more important thing, the third option that I talked about, that import the model. Now let's say you develop this data flow for this workspace and now I wanted to move this data flow to another workspace. So I can simply export this JSON file. So let's say it has downloaded this JSON file. Let me go to another workspace and let me go here again and click on data flow. Now let me just choose the third option, import model. I'm clicking here and selecting the same JSON file over here. And here we are. The data flow has been imported successfully. And now it will just ask us to edit the credential. So let me go to this workspace and here you can see this data flow is somewhat which has imported, which we just exported as a JSON format, right? So this maintenance thing is also something which become so easy with the help of data flow. Right now, over here, once you imported that, you just need to configure your refreshes and enter your credentials. So just go to the settings and just configure the schedule refresh based on your requirement. Right. So we are good at this moment over here. Now, let me show you one more interesting feature over here. So now we have completed our data flow development. So this is how you can leverage the create your data flow. It's very simple, straightforward, and very easy. Now we want to consume that to our Power BI desktop. So how can we do that? So simply you just need to open your Power BI desktop. You just wanted to consume your report. So just click on get data, right? And you want to grab the records from your data flow. So simply go to the Power Platform option and there is an option Power BI data flow. So just click on connect. And what happened here is it will show you the all available workflows or data flows that you have created for your workspaces. So it is showing me this many of workspaces. We need to go to the YouTube workspace. Sorry, we just need to go to the Power BI Bootcamp workspace and need to go with this particular data flow because credit H2 data flow is something which has all the records. It also has reference of category table as well. So we will directly pull this uh, specific tables from this particular data flow and we are good to go. Let's click on load. So for just for time saving, it is not taking more time. So I will just load only two tables at this moment. But based on your requirement, you can load the multiple tables from multiple data flows. So you can go with that. But let me just load only two at this moment. So it will take less time to load and we are good. It's almost loaded. So let it to be loaded. Yes, we are good. Right now, let me just add one table visualization and grab some fields like provider name, and its date. Let's just grab only these two information. Let me just save this report. So I'm just saving this report as sample data flow bootcamp. And let's publish this report. So this is something like I'm just showing you this as for example. I'm not doing more fancy things here because it's something like you can load your appropriate table and build a similar development report development, right? And now let me just publish it to PBI Bootcamp workspace. So what happened here is this report is going to publish over there into the workspace and let it to be published. And here we are, the report is being published, and you can see this is the report and this is the data set. Now for this particular Power BI report as well, you can configure your own refreshes. Now you need to keep few things in your minds, like let's say you already know that behind the scene it is using data flow as a data source. So let's say my credit H2 data flow is about to refresh 2 times in a day, then I need to set my refresh frequency of my report according to that. Like let's say if you are refreshing your data flow 2 times in a day and you are configuring your report refresh 8 times in a day, that doesn't make sense because let's say even if you refresh 8 times, what happen here is every 8 time it will make a query on your data flow and grab the records over there. So just choose your refresh frequency wisely based on your data flow refresh timing, right? And you are good to go over there. So this is something that the traditional report that you published, you can achieve with the help of that. Now, one more question arise in our mind that, we already pulled the information to our Power BI report, Power BI data flow itself. Then can we pull that as a direct query into our Power BI desktop? The answer is yes. So let me show you that option. So this is the premium only feature, that direct query for data flow. So make sure that you have premium per user or dedicated premium capacity assigned. So you simply need to go to the setting option over here, and you have an option called enhance compute engine setting. So make sure that this feature is turned on and just click on apply. So if you turn on this feature, only at that time your data flow will allow you to have the direct query connection. And most important thing, once you do that, you need to refresh your data flow again. So let it to be refresh again, right? And it will let it to be complete the refresh over here. And let's see how much time it will take over here. So let's wait for 2 to 3 minutes over here. And once you do that, what happen here is it will uh, show you the direct connectivity for your data flow with your Power BI desktop. Now, one another interesting fact I want to tell you, that we enable the enhanced compute option only for this data flow, but we haven't included that for category data flow. Then does it allow the category as well as a direct query? So the answer is no. It will only allow the data flow, like if you wanted to have the direct query for category, then definitely we need to enable that feature for this data flow as well. It directly don't do everything over here. Like for link table, exactly you need to make the changes into your source data flow. Now let me go to Power BI desktop and let me just create one new file, and let me just load my data flow as a direct query mode. Let me just close this unwanted one. And here we are. Let me just click on get data. Let me just go to the database section. Sorry, Power Platform section, and we will go Power BI data flow and just click on connect. And now we will be having more options. Like let me just expand this Power BI bootcamp and expand the data flow where we enable this feature. And you can see the icon color is different for the direct query tables. So we have enabled the enhanced computation option. So what happened here is it just allow us to load these tables as a direct query into my report. But you can see this category table for which I haven't enabled the compute option. So actually it is showing the import mode option, but for other tables you can directly load to your report. So I'm just loading this one, and let me just load this category as well. And let me just click on load. Now when the data is being loaded, it will prompt you with some options to load with the direct query. So let's see. So here you can see category table is something which will load as a import mode. But for provider table, you are having two options. You want to load this as the import mode or indirect query. So let's load that as direct query, and we are good to go. And here we are. We are good to go here, and we can develop the report on top of that. So here we have loaded one table as direct query mode, one as import mode, but you can, this is how you can simply, get your data flow as a direct query option, right? Now, I think I covered almost everything about the basic things related data flow. Now let me just talk about some comparison or the feature comparison that I wanted to explain you, that which one you will get with a normal pro license and which one you will get with the premium license, right? So the first concept that I've shown you, the link tables. So you wanted to use the another table as a reference in data flow, then you need to go with the premium license. Link tables are not supported with pro licenses. Compound table, this is also something which I have covered here. Like I just loaded the reference table and I just wanted to make some ETL operation on top of that, so I just used as a reference over there. So this is also something which is premium only. Most interesting concept, incremental refresh, it is also something which is premium only feature, and it is also similar work with your normal Power BI report. Same way you need to configure the incremental refresh for your data flow as well. So every time it will not load every record, it will just load the record which are newly added to your data source. So that is something which you can achieve with premium. And incremental refresh concept is something which I haven't covered into this session, just being for a time period. Then enhanced compute engine feature, that is something which I have just shown you for direct query. When we enable this enhanced compute engine feature, only at that time you are good to load your data flow as a direct query mode. So this is also something which is only for premium feature. AI capability is something which is in available in premium, so you can create your different AI ML things over there. Storage with Pro, normally it comes up with 10 gigs of per user and refresh 8 times in a day. And for premium, depending on your capacity which you are purchasing for, and 48 times per day refresh it is providing. So this is just normal Pro versus premium feature comparison, right? So to summarize everything over here into my overall session, so we get started with Power BI data flow, what data flow is exactly doing, and then we created our first data flow, then we created second data flow as a linked data flow to the first one, and then we have loaded that particular data flow into our Power BI desktop report. We build our report, publish the report, configure the schedule refresh, and at last we talked about the direct query feature. Now, data flow is much more than that I just explained. It has some more advanced capability as well. Like I talked like incremental refresh thing, and let's say if you just click on here, it will show you the similar thing that you are doing with the desktop, the incremental refresh stuff. And if you just wanted to define any ML model on top of that, you are also good with that thing. So this is something, the overall basic introduction of data flow. So any newbie or any beginner, hope this session values your time and you just got an idea that you know how this data flow is work into your Power BI report. So that's all from my end at this moment. And let me just share my social media handle links and YouTube links in the chat window so you can follow me. And most probably from the next week, I'm going to launch one new series on Power BI data flow. So this is the URL for my Linktree account. So I am that into my into the chat window. So once you click on that, you will redirect it over here and just click on YouTube page. So you will redirect it to my channel page. From here, you can learn the different Power Platform related stuff. So I have so many content on Power BI, Power Apps, everything over here. And over in the playlist section, I have some step-by-step series as well, like paginated report series, Power BI embedded series, so many other things. So next week, definitely for this data flow, I'm going to launch some 7 part of step-by-step series. So any beginner who do not know how to install the gateway procedure or any fast forward steps that I have shown you at this moment in this session, I will cover in detail over there. So you can go through that particular entire playlist and learn the things. And over there, I will try to cover the concept of incremental refresh as well as AI and ML. So just wait for next week and I'm good to launch that. Another interesting announcement that I wanted to have you here, like you can follow me on my Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. And Instagram is a new handle that I've started where I'm posting different posts, different reels and different IGTV. So mostly on Instagram, we have 30 seconds short tips and tricks related Power Platform. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram so far, you can go to follow me and you will never miss any short content, short tips and tricks related Power Platform. So never miss those content as well. And with this, I think I'm good. And I'm pasting all the links in the chat window as well as some reference links for this particular session as well. I will post it into chat window. And now we can go with the Q&A part. So I'm just checking the chat window and let's go with the question and answer over here. So let me just check the chat window. The first question that I'm getting here is, do the company really load all the data into cloud? What about the cost? I guess the storage is not free. Obviously, like once even if you go with the pro license, 10 gigs of storage you are get to got there. And even with premium capacity, you have some specific amount of data you go with. So if the storage is exit, you need to purchase some additional storage. And even if you have larger data set, then you can go with the Azure Data Lake storage as well. Then data, measure and dimension. Then all these features are aligned with Power BI premium node licenses. Yes, most of the features like link table, AI ML, incremental refresh, direct query mostly are allocated with the premium node licenses. Uh, then how to create a data flow from desktop Power Query where transformation is already done. So how to create a data flow from a desktop Power Query where the transformation is already done. So actually data flow is a service only feature. So I can say as a patch purpose, like if you already done something in your Power BI desktop, then just copy and paste your step from there and just paste it to online. Because at this moment, this is the only way that data flow is something you can only create with workspace level, not with the desktop level. Um, can you use M to get around the missing UI option compared to Power Query in the desktop? Okay, so mostly almost as I told you, like almost every feature of M we do have with the Power Query online, but still I haven't mostly the transformation that I have done so far with my real project as well. I do not face any much challenges that you something you can do with desktop, but something you can't do with online. All right, more time to refresh, how to optimize that. Okay, more time to refresh. Okay, so with traditional development, definitely it is taking more time to refresh as it is refreshing the entire data set. But here for data flow, we have a capability, to set the refreshes by each individual data flow. So you can load the table individually and, configure the specific refresh for specific data flow that will reduce the amount of, load on your Power BI data refresh. Something as someone added, easy to grab, thank you so much. I'm not sure, but he said some UI options are not present. Yes, I told you, like for Power Query Online, some user interface UI options are not available, meaning that in let's say with traditional Power Query, we have so much things like let's say if we go with the transform option, we have some Python scripting option. In add columns, we have some more option in desktop Power Query, but few options are something which is missing in Power Query Online, and Microsoft is gradually, adding those new capability into data flow. So I can say like most of the time, the basic thing that you are doing with your real projects as well that are almost available in data flow. So you can go with that. Can I connect Power BI desktop to data flow with direct query? Yes, you can. I have shown you in the demo. Then I see pattern in bootcamp upgrade to premium. I do not understand that question actually. And so virtually everything is better with premium. Yes, almost most of the capability we are getting with that one. Can you able to see the data flow reference path? Yes, you can see the data flow reference path. So let me show you how. So let's say we are here into this workspace and we are over here into this data flow, and if any other data flow is used as a reference, you are see the source data flow as a link, so you are able to see that reference over here. Hope I understood your question. If not, just ping me personally, I will answer you. So is pagination is I can see so many questions are there in the chat window, but here we are running out of time, so I will try to answer most of the question into this chat window, and maybe you can just connect me through my social media handles. Maybe I can answer you over there, so it will not reflect the schedule of other speakers. So I think with that I would like to end this particular session.
Thank you, Dhruvin. Yes, please share your contact details so that the community can keep in touch with all the great work you're currently working on. That'd be great. Thanks again. That was Dhruvin, guys. So if you've not seen Dhruvin in action, now you have, doing some really, really fantastic work for the Power Platform community there. So once again, thank you, Dhruvin, for making it today at this time, at such a late time. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Raz. See you soon.